Welcome to India HR Dialogues, the executive read where we take these great books and resources and turn them into advice you can actually use.
Yeah.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into getting your money's worth from training and development.
Very cool.
So whether you're the one actually sitting there in the training or you're the manager who's sending your team to the training, this episode is going to be packed with insights to help you really get the most out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
And before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Oh, yes.
So you don't miss any of our future deep dives.
Okay, so this book really kind of changes how we think about training. You know, it's not just about showing up and passively listening.
Right.
Both managers and the people going to the training have a really important role to play.
Yeah, it really is a two-way street, and this book makes that so clear.
Absolutely. And one of the core ideas is this YFM thing. Well, what's in it for me? So both the person going to the training and the manager, they need to figure out what they want to get out of it.
Makes sense.
It's about setting expectations and making sure everyone's on the same page right from the start.
Okay. I get why that's important for the person attending the training,
Yeah.
To stay focused and motivated. But why is it so important for the manager?
Well, imagine your manager sits down with you before the training and says something like, "Hey, I'm really excited for you to go to this project management training. I think it's going to be super helpful for that new project you're leading, and here's how it connects to your career goals."
Right.
Wouldn't that make you see it differently?
It totally would. Suddenly, it's not just about checking a box. It's about something bigger.
Right.
And my manager actually sees the value in me going.
Exactly. And this is where the book really surprised me. It says that managers have the biggest impact on whether training is successful even before the training even starts.
Wow.
They set everything up for success by having these conversations beforehand and making sure it connects to your goals and what the company is trying to achieve.
So it's like planting a seed and making sure the soil is good.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so tell me more about these pre-training discussions.
One thing they talk about is creating a learning contract. It doesn't have to be anything super formal, but it's basically an agreement about what you want to learn from the training, what success looks like. And this is really important, how you're going to use those new skills in your actual work.
I see. So it's like a roadmap.
Exactly. It makes sure everyone knows what's going on and that the training is really connected to real life, which is what matters.
What if a manager isn't really into the training? Like they think it's a waste of time or something?
The book talks about that too. You have to have these open conversations. And if the manager has concerns, you bring them up. Maybe there's a different training that would be better. Or maybe the person already has those skills.
Yeah, communication is key.
Totally. Even if it's mandatory, the manager can still help the person see the value in it.
Right.
Maybe it's a chance to brush up on things, network with people, or even learn from how the trainer presents things.
Okay, so looking for the positives, even if it's not perfect.
Yeah, and I think that goes for the people attending too.
I agree. That attitude can make a difference, but we've got to talk about what happens during and after the training.
Of course, but before we get to that.
Let me jump in here for a second.
Sure.
If you're liking what you're hearing, we really recommend checking out the full book, Getting Your Money's Worth from Training and Development.
Definitely.
You can find a link to buy it in the episode description.
And it goes even deeper into everything we're talking about.
All right, let's get back to our deep dive and see what happens after that initial pre-training discussion.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about setting the stage, with clear expectations and that WIFM thing.
Right.
But the real question is, how do you make sure people are really engaged with the training?
Yeah, it's like you can show them where the good stuff is, but you can't make them take it in.
Exactly. Just being there physically doesn't mean you're going to learn and use what they're teaching.
Right.
And this is where the book says managers need to step up too. It's not enough to just send someone off to a training and then forget about it.
So what does it actually look like to be actively engaged?
Well, for the person attending the training, it's about asking questions, joining in the discussions, really trying to connect the dots between what they're teaching and your own job.
So being present, not just physically, but mentally too.
Yeah. Be an active learner, not just someone who's writing stuff down.
And then after the training.
Don't let those new skills go to waste. Use them as soon as possible.
Okay.
Talk to your manager about how you can apply what you learned. Look for opportunities to try things out and get better.
So make that connection between the training and real life.
Exactly. And for the manager, the follow-up after the training is crucial.
Okay.
Don't just ask, how was the training? You need to schedule a proper meeting.
Got it.
And ask things like, what were the main things you learned? How are you planning to use those things? What do you need from me to be successful?
It's like taking those learning objectives we talked about and turning them into action steps.
Exactly. And the book even suggests setting up regular check-ins.
It's like every week.
Yeah, or every other week, whatever works for everyone.
I like that it creates accountability and keeps the learning going.
And it shows that you care about their development. It's not just a one-time thing.
Right.
Besides those check-ins, managers can also give people opportunities to use their new skills at work.
Okay. How?
By giving them certain projects or tasks or even mentoring opportunities.
So give them a chance to really use those skills.
For sure. And don't forget, feedback goes both ways.
Right.
As a participant, ask your manager for feedback on how you're doing. Ask for advice on how to improve.
It shows you want to keep learning.
Absolutely. And all of this leads to the main goal, seeing real results from the training.
That's what it's all about, right? So how do we know if it's working? What does getting results even mean?
This is where it gets really interesting. The book says that your development goals should match up with the company's goals. So the results of training should be measurable and help the whole organization.
It's like connecting the dots between individual learning and the bigger picture.
Exactly. So think about things like increased productivity, happier customers, or even better teamwork. The way you measure will depend on the specific training and goals you set.
Okay.
It could be performance reviews, project outcomes, or even customer feedback. The important thing is to decide on those key performance indicators, those KPIs, and see how they change over time.
Like a scorecard to see if the training is really making a difference.
Yeah, and the book says to have a formal wrap-up discussion to talk about progress, celebrate what went well, and see if there are areas where you need more development.
So it's a continuous process.
It's not just about finishing a course, it's about always trying to learn and grow.
I like that. And what's the powerful message the book leaves us with?
Well, it talks about how all of this connects to whether people stay with a company. There's this quote in the book that says, people don't quit companies, they quit their managers.
Wow.
It makes you think about how important it is to have a manager who supports you and wants you to grow.
That's a great point. It's like investing in your team's development isn't just a nice thing to do. It's really important for the business.
Yeah, when people feel valued and supported, they're more likely to be engaged and do good work and stay with the company.
It's a win-win.
For everyone. So investing in training and development is a good thing for both the person and the company.
It's about creating this environment of learning and growth.
Right. Yeah.
Which makes work better for everybody. So as we wrap up today, what are 3 key takeaways for our listeners?
First, before you go to any training, figure out your YFM. What do you want to learn? What are your specific goals? What skills do you want?
Take charge of your own learning.
Exactly. And number 2, don't let anyone go to a training without talking about what you expect to happen.
Right.
Have that pre-training discussion, figure out the learning objectives, and maybe even create that learning contract.
Setting the stage.
Yeah. And the last one is about staying engaged after the training is done.
Keep the momentum going.
That's it. Use the power of just ask. Talk to your team or your manager about how things are going.
Are they using those new skills?
Exactly. What challenges are they having? What kind of help do they need?
Those check-ins are so important.
They show you care, and they give you a chance to make adjustments if you need to.
So it all comes down to communication, engagement, and follow-through.
That's how you make training really work. And if you want more tips on how to get the most out of your training, we highly recommend the book, Getting Your Money's Worth from Training and Development.
There's a link in the episode description.
It's full of practical advice that can really make a difference.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of India HR Dialogues, The Executive Read.
We hope you got a lot out of it.
And as always, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our future deep dives.
Into the world of HR and leadership.
See you next time.
Yeah, it really is a shift,
Yeah.
Thinking about training not just as a one-time thing, but as this ongoing process of learning and getting better.
Exactly. And changing that mindset is super important for both people and companies. Absolutely. So as we wrap up today, let's try to pull out some clear action steps our listeners can start using right away.
Love it. First off, before you even sign up for that next training, I'd say spend some time figuring out your own YFM.
Okay.
Like, what are you hoping to get out of it? What specific skills are you looking to develop?
It's like setting a goal for yourself.
Exactly. And having that clarity, it keeps you motivated and helps you get the most out of the whole thing.
Makes sense. And once you got that YFM in mind.
Don't keep it to yourself. This brings us to our second action point.
Okay, tell me more.
Talk about it. Whether you're the one going to the training or you're the manager sending someone to make time for a pre-training chat.
Yeah, communication is key.
It's all about getting on the same page,
Yeah,
Talk about what you want to learn, make sure everyone understands, and if you can even put together a simple learning contract just outlining the main takeaways and how you'll use those skills on the job.
It's like setting the foundation.
Exactly. Those pre-training conversations, they're so powerful because they show everyone that development matters, and they set you up for success.
Absolutely. And our third action point is all about keeping that energy going after the training's over.
Yes, keep that momentum.
We touched on this earlier, but it's worth repeating. Remember the power of just ask.
Yes.
Check in with your team or with your own manager regularly just to see how things are going.
Those simple check-ins can make a world of difference.
They really can.
Yeah.
Are those new skills being used? What roadblocks are you hitting? What kind of support do you need?
It shows you're invested, and it gives you a chance to course correct if you need to.
It's amazing how much of a difference these simple things can make.
Really is.
Yeah.
So if you're ready to take your training to the next level, I highly recommend checking out the book that inspired this deep dive, Getting Your Money's Worth from Training and Development.
You can find a link to buy it in the episode description.
It's full of great advice that can really help you make the most of your training investments.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of India HR Dialogues. The Executive Read. We hope you found these insights valuable and that you'll leave feeling inspired to create a culture of continuous learning and development in your own organization.
Couldn't agree more, and as always, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future deep dives into the world of HR and leadership. We'll see you next time.
See you then.